The Art of Silence. Chapter 1. The Beginning. It said that everyone has a story, and mine begins with silence. Not the gentle quiet of a library or the peaceful hush of a snowy night, but the profound, unnerving silence that follows a scream. It's a silence that I've come to know well, one that I crave and create. My name is Alexander Drake, and I am an artist. My canvas is the human soul, and my medium is fear. Each victim, each carefully orchestrated murder, is a masterpiece in my gallery of terror. But this isn't just a story about my art, it's about how I came to be the artist of death. It began innocently enough, with a fascination for the macabre. As a child, I was drawn to the dark corners of the world, the places where shadows hid secrets. I would spend hours poring over crime novels, studying the minds of killers, understanding their motivations. It wasn't long before mere stories were not enough. I needed to experience the thrill for myself. My first kill was unplanned, a spur-of-the-moment decision. Her name was Clara, a waitress at a diner I frequented. She had a laugh that grated on my nerves, a high-pitched, almost shrill sound that pierced through the ambient noise. One night, as she walked home alone, I followed her. It was easy. Too easy. A quick swipe with a knife, and she was silent forever. The rush I felt was indescribable, a surge of power and control that left me wanting more. Chapter 2. The Perfect Victim. Over the years, I refined my technique, each kill becoming more deliberate, more artful. I studied my victims, learning their routines, their weaknesses. I took my time, ensuring every detail was perfect. The thrill wasn't just in the kill itself but in the planning, the anticipation, the game. Then came Sarah. She was different from the others, a challenge I couldn't resist. A journalist by trade, she had an insatiable curiosity and a knack for uncovering secrets. She had been investigating a series of unsolved murders that I had committed. I knew she was getting close, too close. It was time to make her part of my art. I watched her for weeks, learning her habits, her patterns. She was meticulous, always leaving her office at precisely 7 p.m., taking the same route home every night. I followed her, noting the best place to strike, the perfect moment to make my move. Chapter 3. The Hunt. The night I chose was cold and dark, the kind of night that cloaked the world in shadows. I waited in an alleyway, hidden from view, my heart pounding with anticipation. As she approached, I could see the weariness in her eyes, the toll her relentless pursuit of the truth had taken on her. When she passed by, I stepped out, a shadow among shadows. She didn't hear me until it was too late. I grabbed her, pulling her into the darkness, my hand over her mouth to stifle her screams. The knife was cold in my other hand, a familiar weight that brought a sense of calm. SHH. I whispered in her ear, feeling her body tremble against mine. It's almost over. She struggled, but it was futile. I was stronger, more experienced. The knife slid into her side with a sickening ease, her blood warm against my skin. I held her close as the life drained from her body, savoring the silence that followed her final breath. Chapter 4. The Puzzle. I left her body where it would be found, posed in a way that would send a message. She was clutching a piece of paper, a clue to my identity, a challenge to the police. I wanted them to know that I was out there, that I was untouchable. The media frenzy that followed was exhilarating. They dubbed me the artist, a moniker that I wore with pride. But there was one detective who refused to see me as just a name in the headlines. Detective John Mercer was relentless, driven by a personal vendetta that I couldn't quite understand. He was good, I'll give him that. He saw patterns that others missed, connections that others overlooked. He was getting closer, and I knew it was only a matter of time before he uncovered the truth. But I wasn't worried. If anything, I welcomed the challenge. It made the game more interesting. Chapter 5. The Confrontation. It wasn't long before Mercer started showing up at places I frequented, his eyes scanning the crowd, always searching. He was methodical, just like me, and I knew it was only a matter of time before our paths crossed directly. One night, as I sat at a bar, enjoying a drink and contemplating my next masterpiece, Mercer walked in. He didn't see me at first, but I saw him. I watched as he questioned the bartender, showed her a picture of Sarah, and described my profile. When he finally turned his gaze toward me, our eyes locked. He knew. There was a moment of silent acknowledgement, a brief flicker of recognition. I smiled, raising my glass in a mock salute. He didn't react, but I could see the determination in his eyes. He approached, taking the seat next to mine. "Alexander Drake," he said, his voice calm but firm. "Or should I call you the artist?" I chuckled, swirling my drink. "Detective Mercer, I've been expecting you. You're not as clever as you think you are," he said, his eyes never leaving mine. "We've got enough evidence to put you away for a long time." I shrugged, unfazed. "Maybe, but you'll never truly understand the art of it." He leaned in closer, his voice a low whisper. "You're going to pay for what you've done. I promise you that." Chapter 6. The Endgame. Mercer's words echoed in my mind as I planned my next move. I knew I had to be careful, but I couldn't resist the urge to continue my work. The thrill was too intoxicating, the need too great. I chose my next victim with care, someone who would send a message to Mercer. Her name was Rebecca, a young artist whose work had recently gained attention. She was talented, passionate, and completely unaware of the darkness that shadowed her. I watched her for weeks, learning her routines, her habits. She was cautious, always aware of her surroundings, but it wasn't enough. No one could escape me. The night I struck was perfect, a storm raging outside, masking any sounds of struggle. I followed her home, slipping into her apartment as she unlocked the door. She never saw me coming. I made sure to leave a clue, a piece of evidence that would lead Mercer to me. It was a risk, but one I was willing to take. The thrill of the hunt, the game, was what drove me. Chapter 7. The Final Act. Mercer was relentless, and it wasn't long before he found the clue I had left. He knew it was a trap, but he couldn't resist. He had to stop me, to put an end to my reign of terror. I waited for him in an abandoned warehouse, the perfect setting for our final confrontation. The silence was deafening, the air thick with anticipation. When he arrived, his gun drawn, I stepped out of the shadows, a knife in hand. "It's over, Alexander," he said, his voice steady. "You're coming with me." I smiled, shaking my head. "You still don't understand, do you? This isn't about you. It's about the art." He moved closer, his gun aimed at my chest. "Put the knife down, now." I could see the resolve in his eyes, the determination. But I also saw something else. Fear. He knew that this was the end. That one way or another, it would all be over. With a swift motion, I lunged at him, the knife slicing through the air. He fired, the bullet tearing through my shoulder, but I didn't stop. The pain was nothing compared to the thrill, the exhilaration. We struggled, each of us fighting for control, but in the end, it was Mercer who prevailed. He overpowered me, his training and determination giving him the edge. As I lay on the cold concrete floor, bleeding and defeated, I couldn't help but smile. "You may have won this round, detective," I said, my voice weak, "but the art will live on." Epilogue. The legacy. Alexander Drake, the artist, was arrested and convicted of multiple murders. His reign of terror finally brought to an end, but his legacy lived on, his story becoming the stuff of legend. Detective John Mercer was hailed as a hero, the man who had brought down one of the most prolific killers in recent history. But he knew that the true victory was in understanding the mind of the killer, in seeing the world through his eyes. The silence that followed Alexander's capture was different from the silence of his kills. It was a silence of relief, of closure, but also of a lingering darkness that would never truly fade. For in the shadows, where fear and silence reign, the art of death still holds its terrible allure, waiting for the next artist to emerge.
Share your thoughts below. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and you can check out more videos like these right now.